What's up guys, thanks so much for being here. Today I have a brand new release from Godox. This is the Light LA series from Godox, and in this video I'm gonna do exactly what I've been doing since the very first video on YouTube. I'm gonna show you guys every single thing that you guys possibly want to know about this light. I'm also gonna be throwing some filmmaking tips here regarding lighting, so stick around. I'll be right back. This video is sponsored by, not directly by Godox, but this light was actually sent to me from a company called Instro. They are authorized Godox dealers. Now I'm gonna say something here that's gonna take a few seconds, and it is important and also required to say, and a few things has changed on my channel as far as reviewing products. So therefore this year and continuing, I am charging a fee to review whatever it is that is in this channel. So the fee that I charge is to compensate my time and the setup here. And every time somebody sends me something, especially sponsored, I have an agreement between, the company and I, that I still get to say whatever I want. Nothing changes. If there's something that I don't like, pros and cons, I will always say here. And there are no previews or approvals of any kind. Once I finish the video here, I simply upload on YouTube, so they watched at the same time that you guys are watching. I also like to take a few seconds here to thank everybody who watches the content of my video, and also, of course, for the ones that subscribe, and for the type of feedback that you guys give me and the comments that you guys leave. It makes me very happy, and it makes me do this even harder every single time. To keep the video going here, I'm going to post several screenshots all over the screen regarding the locks and all the specifications. So for those of you who are looking for the itty-bitty details, or if that's very important to you, so pause the video. So there we go. Everything is going to be here. This video is going to be chapter indexed, so if you want to skip to the parts that you want, but I really appreciate if you didn't, if you watched the whole thing. So the light that I have here is the kit 1, so it comes with the case, the light itself, and then the reflector, a 48-volt power supply, and the AC power cord. And it also comes with this little cloth here, which is a nice touch. Let's talk about the color that they're making these lights, primarily white, I believe, and of course most of the things that I bring into production, they are black, and also dress fully in black, but I actually like the fact that this is actually in white, and if you don't like it, they're making black as well. And there are 4 ways to purchase this light. Of course, change the colors. They make the light itself here, the one that I received, has a case, that's the kit 1. So you can actually buy the light itself with everything, comes with the power supply, the light itself, the necessary cables and all, but no case. And they also make the kit 1. I'm not sure if they make the kit 2, probably, but they also make the kit 3 as well, which consists of 3 of these lights, and it comes with a very large case, so you actually compact everything together. Now every time there's a light that does not come with the case, it really puts me on a little bit of a bad mood, because I need a case to transport this light. You don't want to be showing up on a production set or a wedding with a cardboard box, right? And the price difference between the version that has no case and the version that has a case is negligible. I think it's like $20 or $30 difference, so definitely get the ones that come with the case. So here's the case that comes with the lights. They're not Pelican cases or anything like that. This is an EVA material, whatever that's called. I know it's called EVA because I buy a lot of these cases on Amazon. So here's what the case looks like. It's very lightweight, and this is the inside of the case. As you can see, everything is separated. The reflector goes here, the light, the power cord, and the power supply goes right here. One thing that I like about this light is because there is no ballast. I don't like ballast, and it's just come with this large power supply, which I would think the companies that make this stuff here, they should actually provide some sort of amount. Some do, but some don't. So you're gonna actually have to avoid this thing being dangling here. Aesthetics wise, every time I set up something here, as you can see, everything is nice and tidy. So the cable, everything has Velcro, and I also managed to suspend this power supply here by the safety cable that comes with this unit. You're gonna have to drill just a little bit of a hair for this thing to fit through this little loop that this power supply has. So there you go. And additionally, I put a Velcro here with another Velcro, and a little bit of a padding here that is easily found on Amazon. I'll leave this link on the description with everything here. So when you actually put this in here, you just make sure you tighten it very tight, and there you go, it stays here. I wouldn't put it on the bottom, so when you raise the light, the power supply goes with the light. The AC cable that comes with this power supply here has a rather interesting feature. They made a plug that self-locks here, so when you lock it, it really locks it, right? But look what's happening here. this cable is not even 4 feet long, so how am I supposed to reach an outlet which is very close here, right? So if you want to use this cable with this locking feature, you will always need an extension cord no matter what you do. I'm going to be skipping this cable, unfortunately, and putting a 20-foot long cable here, something like that. Maybe I'll find on Amazon a cable that has the same locking feature, and there you go. But I was not happy that this came with this little, 2-inch little cable here. Not cool. I would appreciate if you guys don't skip anything, because sometimes people ask me questions that are present on the video answering that question, so every minute here is information. This light is primarily a studio light, but I know you guys want to stick some V-mount batteries here. Don't worry, yes, Godox makes a V-mount battery device specifically made for this light. And there are also other alternatives here, because currently the one that Godox makes is about $200. As long as you have a product that supplies 48 volt input in this light here, you'll be okay. Don't use anything else, because you're going to damage the light. And again, this is a 300 watt light. Make sure your V-mount batteries are at least 200 watts in power or something close to that, because if you want to crank this up to 100%, you will need at least 400 watts. And it's also always a good idea to leave a little bit of a breathing room, 100 watts off here and there, especially if you want to use a AC power bank, which is another alternative for powering this light besides the expensive V-mount types, because the V-mount batteries, they cost a lot of money, and so does that device right there. When you buy an AC power bank, make sure it is pure sine wave. That's actually very important, because sine wave is like this, right? The square modified wave is like this here. And which things like this here, they don't like modified square wave. So make sure the device they buy, it says on the listing there, pure sine wave, very visible, and also on the unit itself. So what this lights and this keyboards and everything else likes on the outlet, a home outlet is actually 3% THD, total harmonic distortion, and it is also pure sine wave. So this is why pure sine wave is very important to power electronics, because the circuit boards here, they're actually rather sensitive. And speaking of circuit boards, if you're interested in the warranty that these lights have, there are some limitations. For example, apparently what I read in the manual here, the warranty applies to the circuit board and does not apply to the power supply, does not apply to the body, I guess. I'm gonna leave the screenshot right here. So this is something to keep in mind as well. So the warranty is about a year for the circuit board, and a limited warranty, maybe 2 or 3 months for other parts, and no warranty at all for this particular light or the power supply. So if V-mount is too expensive for you, and if you have one of these laying around, if you don't, and looking for a cheaper alternative, I have a 300 watt AC power bank, and this model has been discontinued, so I'm gonna try to leave in the description at least a link here. And so right now the light is powered off, and I'm gonna connect this here. And now, check this out. The light turns on, takes a couple seconds, and there you go. Right now the light is at 6%. This is a 300 watt power bank. And don't forget that on CCT at 100% brightness, this can reach up to 340 watts almost. So I would say what would make sense here is a maximum, I would say 70% or 75. I'm gonna leave it at 75. And then there you go, you have plenty of light, at least 280 watts, 290 watts here, give it a take. And there you go. So, and then when you disconnect this out of here, so this is to prove that I'm using this here. So at this particular scenario here, with the light at 75% and this being a 300 watt light, you can run this light for at least 45 minutes, but no longer than 1 hour. And of course the front of the light is a standard Bowens S mount, so whatever reflector, whatever softbox, whatever thing they want to put in here, it will work. There's no adapters to buy. One thing that I like about this particular Bowens mount here, this is actually the first thing that I check on the light. So installing the reflector here, you have that very satisfactory locking feeling, and there is no play, no rattling, nothing. As you can see here, nothing. Of course, when we actually rock left and right here, because there's a necessary space to unlock the thing, of course it will play, but there is no play. There's no rattling, so very nice. And again, to take this out of here is a very satisfactory feel, because it's very solid. This light is actually primarily made of plastic, body-wise, and it does not feel cheap at all, and it's actually very pretty, I think. The front ring here, of course, is made of metal because you're attaching modifiers right here. The back is made of plastic, but this whole thing from here to here is made of solid metal, so you can actually tighten this as tight as you want. It's not going to break anything here. Another thing that's great about this light, when you take it outdoors, especially summertime, so bugs, they don't damage your LED. And as a matter of fact, most lights nowadays, they include this here. This is a glass front element protection, and this one happens to be diffused. I was trying to remove the screws here, and this thing still didn't come off for some reason, so I put the screws back here. I was going to show you guys what it looks inside. And as you notice, the LEDs, they are recessed at least, I would say, 1 centimeter back. But the light still manages to have a very wide light, even if the LED is like recessed in the back there. And of course it has a handle. I've seen some lights like this that don't have a handle, so this one does. And it's a very nice feel. It's like a rather glossy material, but when you actually touch it, you know, it feels nice. This is a 300 watt light. You also have the option to buy the 200 or the 150. But if you want to ask me, always buy the most powerful light they can possibly afford, because you will never know what you're going to encounter, especially on a wedding, on a corporate shoot, what the client's going to want. So here's a lesson learned that I actually took some equipment to a corporate set, and I found out that, you know, I didn't bring enough power. So when I got there, I decided to put the subject behind a massive panel, which was daylight outside, and I actually needed two 600 watt lights to compensate for the distance that the light had to be placed, plus to fight with the sun. And I was shooting at f2.8. That was 1200 watts of light with two soft boxes here, one below the other, and it was just about right. So again, buy the most brightest light that you can actually afford. For a room like this here, just to light at 10% is fine, but you will always thank yourself for being able to provide the extra half or extra full stop, maybe 2 stops. So everybody wants to do some artsy things with their lighting, right? So if you are not familiar with the inverse square law, I would strongly advise or suggest that you search on YouTube for the inverse square law. Do this, type the inverse square law for lighting. And another thing, the inverse square law for audio. Inverse square law applies on everything in life. So if you want to know what you should do with this light, what modifier you should use, how close the light should be, the amount of light coverage, you know, wide or tight, whatever, search for the inverse square law. What I'm trying to say here, for example, when I put a softbox on a 300 watt light, especially a softbox of 90 centimeters, which happens to be that thing right there, which they also sent to me. I'm going to be showing you guys later about that softbox there. Did you know you lose 75% of the intensity of the light just by moving the light 1 foot away from the subject? And this is something called the light fallout. So the majority of the intensity is right here. So anything beyond this point here, you lost about 75% of the light intensity. It doesn't matter if you have a reflector here, softbox, or a filter of some kind, it doesn't matter. So for example, if you're shooting a large family on a portrait, for example, if you place the lights close, you're going to be causing hot spots on a person this side and the other person this side right here, right? So if you actually back out the lights, you're going to require more intensity, but you're gonna have more coverage, which means everybody's gonna be equally exposed. And you probably also know that the closer the light is, the bigger the light becomes, and the softer, the creamier, and more controlled the light becomes. If you put the light this close to my face here, you'll be able to light this face and complete darkness on the other face. As you pull the light away, it's going to require more intensity on the light, but you're going to have a wider coverage. So when you put the light close, is more intensity but less coverage. So I have a heating device right there. If I put this very close to my body, I'm gonna feel the heat right here, but not enough here. If you place the heat away from your body, it's gonna require to crank up the heat more to compensate for the, the distance, the heat loss. But I'm going to start to feel that more on my whole body. So you get the point of the inverse square law applying to every single thing in physics. Next thing I want to do here is to show you guys the app. I know everybody's tired of seeing this app, but apparently on the update, they changed a few things here. So you might want to stick around to this, okay? So right now, I just connected the light, everything from scratch. There are 2 ways to connect this light. One through the usual Bluetooth, and the other way, this light actually provides an NFC connection, which stands for near field connection, right? And here's the thing, if you have a VPN you're gonna have a little bit of a problem here because I use a VPN on this phone and nothing wanted to connect. Just in case that's what you have, turn off the VPN first of all. See, I told you there's something new here. Before, the VPN was never a problem. Now I feel that using VPN, some websites, they don't, it's a whole mess now with the VPN and I don't like it. But anyway, so right now I have nothing connected here, so I'm gonna be connecting this light with the Bluetooth here. So the VPN is off. You just click on the plus here all the way on the bottom, and then add fixture, and then immediately the thing appears. And if it doesn't appear, all you have to do is to reset the Bluetooth here. So then you hit confirm. There you go, paired successfully. I'm going to disconnect this light now. Now I'm gonna use the NFC here. With the Android, it's a little bit easier using the NFC. With the iOS, it's a little bit tricky, but they connect regardless, okay? So let's connect this using the NFC mode and click here, and then NFC addition. And then you gotta put this very close to the light and ready to scan, go, and then wait, there you go. You can cancel this out and then hit OK. And there you go, the light is in here. So you can actually turn the light on and off and all that good stuff here. So when you open, you see all the stuff that you guys are familiar with. I'm not gonna be actually boring you guys with this here. So you have the CCT, HSI, RGB, color filter, which are gels. You select, you know, Roscoe here or lead gel, whatever you want. Effects, there are 14 effects. And I'm gonna show you guys here something. Before, when I actually unpacked this light, the controls here, they were very slow. And it's not like instant, still some delay here, but I updated the firmware on the light. Now is a lot more responsive here. So make sure you update the firmware as soon as you get this light. And if you have any other lights going on from Godox, for example, make sure you update everything. Your tube lights, this light, is always a good idea to update the firmware, right? So this is something that I wanted to bring up here. It was very slow, very erratic. Now everything is cool. And of course, because it's an RGB light, it has the green magenta correction that we all want and need. So you can actually go to the extremes here, a little bit of green, a little bit of magenta, or all the way magenta, or all the way green. It's like literally green there, so which is great. One thing that I actually love about this light is the smoothness of the colors. As you transition here, there's no hiccups, there's no steps, everything is very smooth. And also the fact that when you actually desaturate the light to like nothing, it is rather white, not like 100% accurate white, but it is whiter than the regular pink weird colors that most RGB lights have. This is an RGBW, this is why the white is almost white, right? And you notice that the CCT is a lot brighter than the RGB on every single light because there's more LEDs on the CCT than RGB. And of course, this light has an insane range of Kelvin degrees. It is not even listed here, so it goes all the way from 1800 Kelvin to 10,000 Kelvin. Another thing that I like, they have the demo feature here, so in case you want to do some tutorials, you have the whole diagram here, moving the lights around. You can also save your project, which is pretty interesting. This can be actually very helpful for YouTube. I'm almost done here. So on the three little dots here, you click, you can actually pin, find the light, rename, even fence settings, disconnect, firmware upgrade, and cancel, right? So let's find the light here, then select the thing, flash, then it's gonna be doing this in case you have multiple of these lights or any other lights besides these models here. It can be a tube light, whatever. Then you have the firmware upgrade, and this is what changed here. So you can actually update two things now, the Bluetooth firmware and also the lighting fixture firmware. So check out my light, I have the version 1.05 and here 1.05, so I'm up to date. Now to update the firmware is actually very easy. All the way on the right near the green power button there on the app, click on the three dots and then go to firmware upgrade. I currently have the version 1.03 and then it says what's gonna be improved or fixed here. Then I click update, the light turns off. Update successful. The light turns back on, hit close, done. Click on the firmware upgrade, and I have the latest version now. On the effects here, I'm just going to show you guys the fact that you can actually use the CCT or HSI for most effects here. So I'm just going to show two here. Now the candle, for example, a lot of lights that I find, they don't have this effect satisfactory or realistically enough. So, but you can actually do the speed here. I think around 40 is about right. I think, believe it or not, for the best candle light effect, go to the fire, I think is a better effect. The way the thing oscillates. Have to keep this at 2% because the level is already overexposed in my background there. But you see that the fire looks better as a candlelight than the candlelight itself. On a broken bulb, for example, not only you can do CCT but HSI in case you want to render these colors here. You've seen this in a lot of movies, this particular color, like that, you know, either a weird green or something clinical like this here. So it looks pretty nice. And the police car, I would choose, you know, this here and mode 4. I think it's more realistic. So that's it for the app. I'm done. So here's the back of the light, and it takes about a few seconds to boot up. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 seconds. And the light will remember as long as you wait at least 30 seconds here. So let's change everything here. 3200 Kelvin, the green magenta is going to be here, the intensity at 17%. If you turn the light off right now, it's going to go back to the 2% or whatever previous settings that I was before. Then power it off, power it back on. There you go. Remembers exactly what you did. Just wait at least 30 seconds. Another thing that I like here, for example, the CCT is at 7%. When you go to the HSI, it's still at 7%. So if you change here, it's going to change on CCT as well. See, 16%, 16%, 31%, 31%. So everything in the back here is also made of plastic, but the knobs, they don't feel cheap at all, and they don't play. The buttons here are also made of plastic, and they're very sturdy. It can be rather clicky in case you are in a very silent room like this here. But most of you guys are going to be using the app anyway or leaving the light alone, right? So when you press the mode buttons, you have all the choices here, and then select the one you want, HSI for example. Now to change the settings from the light, press this button once and then you rotate this knob to highlight what you want. Then you click here, you change the colors or change the saturation. Same thing for CCT, click in here, deselect, and then you change the color temperature and then you highlight it again here. Press it again to highlight something else. Green magenta correction. Now look how fast it is from 0% to 100%. Or you can gradually do 1% increment. But I love the speed here. This is a 48 volt power supply, so be careful with something here. When you actually set up the light and power it on, always plug this in here first and then you connect the power supply to the outlet. Otherwise you're going to have some sparks going on here, which is never good for the circuit board. Just in case you need to reset the Bluetooth on this light, there are two options here. You can actually go to the menu, hit the Bluetooth, and then you can actually reset here, or you can actually press this button. I'm not going to press all the way in because I don't want to disconnect my light, but you can actually reset the Bluetooth right here. And since I didn't press it all the way, as you can see, you can still operate the light here. So I did not disconnect the Bluetooth. When you fully press this here, and then you have to connect everything again. Now to reconnect the light, I'm going to use the Bluetooth old school way. So add fixtures, press on this little button here, and then confirm. So in the menu you have the Bluetooth settings, fan, display, language, version, and factory reset, and also fixture info. Here you have the firmware version and all. On the display here, just in case if there's a problem for you somehow to have the backlit display here too bright for the scene or the set, you can actually press this button here and kill the thing all the way down to 10%. Now here you have the fan, so you can actually choose auto, medium, or high. I usually keep it high as much as possible because it helps with the longevity of the LED itself. So right now let's crank this up to 100% and go back to the fan. So you can actually use the light at 100% on auto or high. When you press medium and then you go here, you cannot go any brighter than 70% as long as the fan is set to medium, so it doesn't damage your LED light. Now when you press the menu again, decide to go silent, the light will be a maximum brightness of 10%. Now I find that most cases, if you leave it to auto, it's going to be just fine, and the fan is going to behave very nice. It's not going to be loud. So especially when the light is cold, you can almost go here to probably 30-some%, which is plenty of power for interview, especially if you guys shoot at f2.8, right? Most of us do, f1.4 or whatever, f1.8. Now let's go back to menu again and set the fan to high. So right now it's been 2 minutes and this is what the fan sounds like. This is my microphone literally 1 foot away from this light. Who is gonna do that, right? You're gonna be having to step at least back here on a subject. So just so you guys can hear the frequency of the noise that this fan is producing, I'm going to be carefully removing my microphone here, and this is what it sounds like. So if you have this light on for like an hour or so, the loudest noise will be as set to high right here, which sounds like this. Now step over here, that's the noise. I'm right here. So I have the fan set to high here. So you notice that when you switch to auto, it doesn't need to crank up the fan so much, even though it's been on for like half an hour here. Now I'm gonna be quiet, you're gonna watch the noise kind of dissipate. See, it went like, and even if you put back to high here, since this is a large fan blade, it requires the fan to spin less, therefore less noise. The temperature right now is 65 degrees here, so you can definitely touch the light, you can rest here, it's not going to burn you at all, so it actually feels good here because it's a little cold in this room. So the fan noise set to maximum is as loud as you will get, and depending on the environment here, so summertime or whatever, you know, when you switch to auto, it's going to eventually pick up to the speed, but no louder than this here. Now I'm going to step back to a reasonable distance. I'm going to be right here. I'm exactly 4 feet away from this fan here, and this is the only thing that it is heard in the room. I'm going to approach here, so it sounds like that. So I guess it's enough with the fan noise here. If you can, I always found that leaving the fan on high is the healthiest thing you can do with any LED light, including this one here or any other light. So right now we're doing a power consumption test here, just in case you guys need to use the V-mount option, so every watt counts, right? So with the unit plugged in, it's already consuming 1.4 watts here, so I'm going to turn the light on. So at 1%, let's go back to 0%. So at 0%, it's doing this here, about 2 watts. Then at 1%, on CCT, 5600 degrees Kelvin, is consuming this much power. 10%, you have this. Then 50%, 167 watts, or in some change. 100%, 330 watts. So this is actually a 330 watt on CCT mode. Now let's do a test with the color temperature. Now I want you to pay attention here and here. So currently the temperature is at 5600 degrees Kelvin. This doesn't matter here. I'm going to leave it set to 100% just because, okay? So one thing that I like about this light is because when you are on the mid-range here somewhere, again, this goes from 1800 to 10,000, right? So the mid-range here will be around here. So it's consuming about 330-ish watts. The usual regular stuff at 3200 degrees Kelvin is still at 330 watts. At 4300, the same power consumption. Then at 5600 degrees Kelvin, same exact thing, 330-ish. 6500, 328, 330. And at 7500, a little bit less. And at 10,000, it's going to consume slightly less here. When you start throwing colors here, as you notice or you know, not all colors consume the same amount of power here. So as I change the colors, I'm going to go through the whole spectrum here. You see the power consumption. You have to go slow so this thing has time to register. So most colors about 78, 80 watts, 60 something here. And this is out of a 300 watt capable light. So the RGBs will always be the weakest compared to the CCT, right? Now going back to the red. Right now I'm doing a brightness test. There's nothing in front of the LED here, as you can see. And right now I'm actually deciding to shoot this at ISO 100 to show you guys how bright this light is. But what you should pay attention here right now is the f-stop only. The light is set to 1 meter away from that projection screen right there. So let's begin the test here. Reset everything, there you go. So 1800 Kelvin at 100%. The reading will be f4. Now this is when the consistency starts to happen. 3200 degrees Kelvin, right, which is the typical warm light. Now we're gonna have a reading here of 56.8, which is technically f8, but so you guys don't get confused, let's stick to these numbers, 56.8. Then I'm gonna do the typical 4200, and then 56.6, 56.7. It's like 1/10 of a f-stop difference. Now 5600 degrees Kelvin. Look, like it barely changes. Perfect. Let's go 6500 Kelvin. 56.6. Look at that. Beautiful. Now let's go all the way up to 10,000 Kelvin. And I thought this thing usually decreases the brightness, but no, it doesn't. It stays the same exact thing. So that tells us from 10,000 all the way down to 3,200, even less, you're going to have the same absolute accuracy in brightness, which means you will never throw your camera exposure unless you change the light distance or do something. But the light here, without moving, it's going to be always the same exposure. Let's say they have a person here on an interview set, you change the color temperature for some reason, the exposure is not going to be altered. Now let's do a test here now, what that does with the reflector. So before, without the reflector, we were getting a reading approximately close to 56.7, right? Again, the light is at 100%, 5600 degrees Kelvin, so it's going to jump from this to that, f22.5, just by putting this reflector here. And let's try 10,000 Kelvin here. And again, that consistency remains. F22.5, 22.7, it depends, like, you know, it's roughly the same. So this reflector adds an insane amount of light, which is pretty cool. Now, the thing that I want to test with the LED bulb itself, when you place the light shining this way here, how wide the light is, and also if you have any weird colors on the edges here. So to what I can see here and there, apparently there is almost none, which is pretty nice. Let's see what happens when you throw in the reflector here. And of course, reflectors like this, they're supposed to provide a hot spot like that. There's no such thing as a reflector that provides an even softer light. This is the function of a reflector like this. And when would you use a reflector like this here? Is to be able to achieve something or someone at a great distance without having to use a whole lot of water during this light here. You can actually probably have this light set to probably, I don't know, 5% and reach something very far away, especially at night. And during the day, same thing. This is going to save you a lot of V-mount power here, right? You can actually set the light to probably 30% and still fight with the sun. If you want a reflector that provides even light, you probably want a beauty dish or something like that, but reflectors like this, I see a lot of people complaining there's a nasty hot spot in the center. Of course there is. This is the function of this type of reflector. Another thing that I love about this light is this ratchet knob here. This thing locks the light so effortlessly, and it doesn't matter what size of modifier they install here, this is not going to droop. All it takes is a little bit of tightening, just like that, and it stays. Especially if you guys want to install something like this here. This is a quite heavy Fresnel. This is a Godox FLS10. This is primarily designed for the LED from the M600 series. I have both the M100 and the M600D and the BI. So the LED here in the front is different than the actual Godox M600, so it will do the job, but again, it will perform differently than the light that this is actually meant to go for. So if you have a Fresnel of whatever brand and size, you know, you can still do its job, but it's not going to be like it's designed for this light. So again, this is actually rather heavy. So if this was a bad mount here, this will droop like that, right? So all it takes is a little bit of tightening. I barely touch the thing. This is not going anywhere. So whatever position that you want, it will stay. So this whole thing here is built very well, especially everything being metal here. So there you have it. So it will not go anywhere. So just in case you guys want to see, this is the FLS10 Fresnel from Godox, and this is primarily made for the Godox M600D or BI 600 watt series. The LED on this light is very different than the actual LED from the M600, for example, but you know, it does the job a little bit. So right now I'm on full spot mode. Now I'm gonna do the opposite here. To my naked eye, I see the light here, but on camera it might look a little tighter. You know, you can see the ring, I guess, here. So this is what it looks like. And just in case you don't feel like installing a softbox here, this light comes with an umbrella hole, and sometimes, you know, we go a little lazy, and they work pretty good too, right, the umbrellas. But keep in mind, this is actually a rather tight fit the very first time you insert the umbrella here, but the second time it actually does better. So there you go, just lock it down here, and there you go. So if you're looking for a nice softbox, they also sent to me here along with this light. This is a separate purchase, and also the grid is also separate, just so you know. This is the Godox QR-P90T. This is a 90 centimeter softbox, obviously, or 33 inches in diameter. So what I like about this softbox here is because it's not as deep and it is not as heavy, because this whole parabolic thing going on as far as softboxes for lights like this here, they put a diffuser in the front and whatnot. Once you do that, as soon as you put something in front here, you are actually canceling the whole parabolic thing. It makes no difference if you have this light here or a shallower light. I actually prefer a shallower light because they are lighter and the effect with diffusion is identical. So if this was a real parabolic softbox, none of them are. The softbox that you guys buy for these lights here, or Godox or whatever light, right? The bronze color ones, if you want to check out a B&H, for example, those softboxes, the Para 222, for example, they cost in excess of $8,000 and higher, $8,000. So the real parabolic softbox, it comes with a rod here. So you actually put the light in this direction, not in the back. So as you pull the light inwards, it's going to provide you a more concentrated beam, but this is called a specular light with the parabolic softboxes, right? And of course the softbox is the new type that you actually press on these buttons here. There's no, you know, speed ring to be fighting with here. And again, this grid is a separate purchase. Most softboxes nowadays, sometimes they come included with it, sometimes they don't. So this particular model here does not come included with the grid. So this light here will take pretty much any load, whether you have this 90 centimeter here or something as ridiculous as the 120 centimeters from Godox. This thing is really heavy. It's heavier than this light with the case almost. So this thing here, as you lock it down, it will take that huge modifier or this one here. So I love this thing here, and also the fact that there's no teeth here. You know, when you unlock this here, it has a special little washer material here or something like that inside here that, you know, requires no force at all. You just lock it here, it stays. Beautiful. Now I forgot to mention something here. This softbox does not rotate like it's rotating now. The reason why it's rotating is because I made some modifications. So the softbox comes with the regular Phillips screw. So what I did was to get 4 1/4 threads here. So you have to slightly loosen each one so the ring will actually rotate. You know, just in case you want the Godox logo, you know, placed this way, or, you know, so, but there's not really a need for that, so don't worry about it. Just in case if you want this thing exactly parking right here instead of like this here. So, you know, silly stuff, but if you want this to rotate, you have to modify this here. And here's the Godox QR-P90T with the grid installed. Looks like that. So here are some tips for you guys when you purchase any softbox of this type here, okay? There is a way to keep this whole rod system lasting forever, even if the softbox that you have, it has plasticky things here. So this softbox here, everything is metal, as you can see. There's no plastic here, which is great, right? So I use a technique for years. So instead of you pressing hard here, which is gonna cause the thing to go, you know, pa, right? Don't do that. So you wanna lift this rod, you know, put your thumb here, lift it up, and then you press the thing, and then it collapses. See, it was almost silent. So what you wanna do while the softbox is fully pressurized here, so by bending the rods, it will allow this to happen. The distance is gonna become shorter, right? So bend the softbox and then pull this rod up, and then you press the thing. You bend it again. Look how easy that is. Even with the old school speed rings, this is what it's even more required. So once the softbox reaches halfway here, you don't need to bend it anymore because there's almost no pressure here, right? So keep doing that, and keep your hands and thumbs here as close as possible to here. You don't want to lift it from here, right? So you don't want to damage the rods. And there you go. So the softbox collapses, right? Now to put it back up, keep doing that. Put your thumb right here as close as possible. Rotate until halfway. And then that's when you start to bend again. So bend it so the stress, the tension is removed or diminished by 50%. It's effortless. So bend the softbox. Now when you put the softbox away, so to collapse the softbox, you want to remove the grid first. Never grab from here because you're going to destroy the grid. Only through the outer edges. Now you do not need to remove anything here. You simply collapse the softbox as I explained before. Bend it. So once the softbox is down, you don't have to remove anything. You simply gently tuck it in here. Make sure your hands are clean because you want this as white as possible. And then you want to Velcro everything back here so everything stays nice and neat. So, and then you put it away like this. See that? The next time you open it up, everything's already here, and you simply start doing that. Now, the bigger the softbox, the more pressure, the more difficult it is to assemble, right? So when you use my technique again, it's effortless. Make sure you unvelcro everything first. Then you bend it again. And then it's effortless. There you go. Look how fast it is to set up like this, right? So this is the Godox QR-P90T. That's a big modifier. And very heavy and very deep. This is so unnecessary because again, once you put diffusers in here, there's no parabolic function. So this is possibly the heaviest thing that you can possibly stress this light with here. The Fresnel lens, which is this big and this heavy, and this is super heavy modifier. So as you can see, any position that you put this here, it will stay. It can be all the way up. And I'm not even overlocking this thing here. So in the center or here. So it will not droop. Okay, so stays there. So that's the end of my video. I hope you found the contents valuable, and I hope you got enough information regarding this item that you guys are probably interested in buying. So once again, thank you so much for being here, and I'll see you next time.